Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from Chic Say What. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today I want to talk about Breonna Taylor. Um, Breonna Taylor is a young lady who died in the midst of, I guess, a shootout, you can call it, during a no-knock warrant that was being served. So I want to talk about just what we learned today pertaining to the officers involved with the federal charges in connection to Breonna Taylor's death. So I want to get into that. I also, have the question of, is this enough? Is the family, satisfied with this? Is there more that needs to be done? So I just want to have that conversation because, she's been gone. Let me see. How long has she been gone? Let me see. This happened in 2020. So, she's been gone for 2 years now. And so 2 years later, we're now learning of, 4 police officers finally being charged in connection with her death. So that's a long time, given how long she's been gone. So I want to talk about it. Please, as you come in, please like, share, subscribe. But again, definitely share this video, share this live. I want to just know about how people are feeling about this, because how often do we hear about, officers it getting to a point where they're actually charges are filed against them, they're going to trial, all of that. I think more often than not, we hear about the charges kind of not sticking, it not going to trial. But in this instance, no, that's not the case. But guess who is out here like, yo, we need more? None other than Tamika Mallory. So sis is out there talking, doing what she does. And we're going to check out and see, what sentiments she has pertaining to the information that just came out. Actually, I'm on her Instagram and she actually just posted like 19 minutes ago. So she definitely has something to say. So you know how I do over here. I'm going to jump over to some sites and share some information that has come out pertaining to the situation. And we're just going to get into it. Hey, this is the party. We are the Starlights, and we just get into the things that need to be gotten into. And today it's about Breonna Taylor. There's a lot going on today dealing with the justice system. Not really just ours, but like even, this justice system in other countries. Brittany Griner, she got sentenced today to like 9 years. So I'm like, okay, do I want to talk about her? But I decided to go ahead and make this live about Breonna Taylor. I wanted to kind of focus on her and just bring some light to the situation. It's been a minute, since, like I said, she passed away. She was killed in 2020. So it's time, we don't want to forget about that. And I really don't feel like people have, but since today it came out that the officers are, 4 officers are being charged. I'm like, yo, we need to get into this. We need to bring some light to this. It seems like, from what I'm seeing, like the families are like, yes, they are definitely here for this information that came out today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump over to this first article I want to get into pertaining to the charges. So this is on Reuters.com. It says U.S. charges 4 Kentucky police officers in Breonna Taylor's killing. So let's go ahead and get into this article, and it kind of give us a kind of like a recap of just everything that went down. Because like I said, this was in 2020. So a lot has happened since then. So let's just kind of get into and just a refresher on what went down back in 2020 when Breonna lost her life. So this article reads, U.S. prosecutors on Thursday charged 4 current and former Louisville, Kentucky police officers for their roles in the botched 2020 raid that killed Breonna Taylor, a Black woman who was in her home, in a case that sparked nationwide protests. So y'all, that was like a big thing when that popped off. Like that just, I don't know, like, is that when the whole Black Lives Matter maybe came about? I just remember like it was just a big thing. It was a lot going on No, or did George Floyd, did that spark it? I think she happened first, and then maybe George Floyd, his situation, maybe it was just a lot going on. And just the whole Black Lives Matter movement, it just kind of like took over. So it says the charges represented the Justice Department's latest efforts to crack down on abusers and racial disparities in policing following a wave of controversial police killings of Black Americans. Former Louisville Metropolitan Police Department Detective Joshua James and current Sergeant Kyle Meany were charged with civil rights violations and obstruction of justice for using false information to obtain the search warrant that authorized the botched March 13, 2020 raid that killed Taylor in her home. So y'all, that all took place that was like at the top of the pandemic. So like I said, it was a lot that went on around that time in 2020. It was just a lot going on. I remember the Justice Department said, so current detective Kelly Godlick was charged with conspiring with James to falsify the warrant and then cover up the falsification. Y'all, how often y'all think that happens? I'm just saying. A fourth officer, former detective Brett Hankinson, was charged with civil rights violations for allegedly using excessive force, U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland said. So Breonna Taylor should be alive today, Garland told news conference. The Justice Department is committed to defending and protecting the civil rights of every person in this country. That was his department's founding purpose, and it remains our urgent mission. So the death of Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency medical technician, was one in a trio of cases that fueled a summer of protests against racial injustice and police violence 2 years ago in the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. See, y'all remember there's a lot going down in 2020. That was the year it went down. Also, y'all, was that the year Kobe? We lost Kobe. I think Kobe passed that year too. Y'all, 2020 was like a big year. Today was a huge step towards justice, lawyers for the Taylor family said in a statement following the news. Louisville police on Thursday began the process of firing Meany and Gottlieb, the department said in a statement. Hankinson and James were previously fired by the department. So 2 of them were already let go, and then like 2 of them just got let go for whatever reason. Who knows why those were delayed, but everybody gone. Everybody got their walking papers. The Justice Department also is conducting an investigation to whether the Louisville Metro government and Louisville police engaged in a pattern or practice of abusing residents' civil rights. So fam, like this is Breonna's family. You can see these photos. Let's see who we got here. We got mama. Let me see. So it says Brianna Flakes, Breonna's cousin, wipes Tamika Palmer's, which is Breonna Taylor's mother's, tears after the announcement. After the announcement that the FBI arrested and brought civil rights charges against 4 current and former Louisville police officers for their roles in a 2020 fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, U.S. August 4th, 2022. So today, y'all, like I said, a lot been going down today. Today is a big day. You know the irony of it all. So we got 2 families that are in tears today. So we have Breonna Taylor's family who are in tears today, tears of joy, because this is like, to them, and they may look at it as a start of like getting justice for her death. And then, as I mentioned before, we have Brittany Griner, who was on trial over in Russia, and she was sentenced to 9 years. So her family have tears for a different reason, more so tears of a loss, whereas, because it's like, wow, we may not see her for 9 years. She's already been, over there for 6 months, and they gave her 9 years. So, well, I guess, yeah, she got it. So she did 6 months, and then they're like, okay, you got 9 years. So I guess you got to do another 9 years. So basically it'd be like 10 years before she comes home. Unless the government, the United States government is able to work out something with Russia. But y'all, listen, are we holding our breath on that? So that's a whole nother conversation, but I found it fitting to mention that because today, August 4th, is a big day. August 4th, 2022 is a big day, and it's a day that we will remember we will remember for, a multitude of reasons, but today is a day we'll remember. So the no-knock raid. Louisville police was investigating alleged drug trafficking when they broke down the door of Taylor's home in a no-knock raid, leading her boyfriend, who was carrying a legally owned firearm, to shoot at the officers, who then fired 22 shots in the apartment, killing Taylor, prosecutors said. Hankinson prosecutors said moved away from the door, firing 10 shots into Taylor's apartment through a window and a glass door that were covered with blinds and curtains. Hankinson told a Kentucky grand jury that he opened fire once the shooting started. As he saw flashes light up the room, he said he mistakenly believed one of the occupants was firing an assault-style rifle at his colleagues. Instead, mostly what he heard was other police firing their weapons. Now, make that make sense. Like, listen, that part right there. Prosecutors said James and Gottlieb met in a garage days after the shooting to agree on a false story to cover for the false evidence they had submitted to justify the botched raid. So I wonder how they learned that. Did somebody start talking? Because how they know all that went down? Who started talking? James or Gottlieb? Because somebody started talking, which usually happens. Y'all seen Power. Somebody always gonna start talking. Lawyer Stu Matthews, who represented Hankinson at a trial in Jefferson County Circuit Court, where he was acquitted in March of wanton endangerment, said he had spoken Thursday morning with the former detective as he was on his way to surrender to the FBI. So it looks like so represented Hankinson. Okay, so this is somebody, I guess, who like, yo, listen, yeah, I got to go ahead and release this and start talking. Matthews said the federal charges looked similar to the previous state charges Hankinson had faced. Until Thursday, Hankinson had been the only officer to face charges in connection with the raid. So it looks like Hankinson would look like he started talking, spilling me like, listen, what had happened was, and I ain't going down. I ain't going down by myself. Let me say that. So it seemed like Hankinson the spirit hit him. He's like, listen, I got something to say. So here we are today. I'm sure Brett will be contesting this just like he did the other indictment, Matthews said. Lawyer Thomas Clay, who represents James, could not be immediately reached for comment. It was not immediately clear if Meany and Gottlieb had attorneys. The killing of Taylor, along with other high-profile 2020 killings of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick, Georgia, sparked nationwide protests. Y'all, I remember it was just a lot that went down during that time. It was like back to back to back with I think the first one was with it was either I think Breonna was first, then it was Arbery, and then I think George Floyd was like that last one. But that was the one that really had, I think George Floyd is the one that had the most attention, where you heard people talking about more. And I think it's because how it was caught on camera. And then I also remember the conversations where people kind of wonder, speculated Breonna Taylor wasn't getting as much attention because she was a woman. And a lot of times, women and the value of women just not being on the same level, looked at the same as when it comes to like men, or black men or black boys. So I remember, during that time, that being a conversation as well. But I was hearing people saying, Breonna Taylor's name, but George Floyd, like he was kind of taking over like the news, like that was just a big thing. So 2020, it went down that year. So listen, let me see. I want to jump over because I have some photos of the officers who were actually charged with her murder. So let me see. Okay, so let's jump over here and we're going to get into this. So updated for Louisville, let me see, LMPD officers facing federal charges in connection to Breonna Taylor. So these are the 4 officers that are charged. So going clockwise up, we got Kyle Meany, Brett Hankinson, and then Joshua James and Kelly Gottlieb. So we got one woman. Indictment and charges. Let's see what it's saying. Let me see. Make sure we didn't miss anything I want to mention. Okay. So let's get into this, what the indictments and charges are. So it says the first indictment charges James and Meany on a total of 4 counts. So James is, I guess this gentleman right here, and Meany, these 2 men right here. That's what this first line is talking about. They are charged with a total of 4 counts. One charges them with obstruction and civil rights violation for knowingly using false, misleading, and incomplete information to get a search warrant for Taylor's home. So they like, okay, y'all was lying and doing whatever so y'all can get this search warrant. So y'all get hit with this charge right here. Let me see what else it says. Prosecutors say that violated her constitutional rights and resulted in her death. Clearly, like if you coming up with stuff and trying to create whatever narrative you can to try to get into somebody's house and a result in somebody's life being lost, yeah. Sister would still be breathing. Well, she would have been still breathing after that night, had that not went down like that. So I definitely agree with that. Violate her constitutional rights and which result in her death. So yeah, we can go with that. We further allege that defendants James and Meany knew the search warrant would be carried out by armed LMPD officers and that conducting that search could create a dangerous situation for anyone who happened to be in Miss Taylor's home. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said during the news conference Thursday morning in Washington, D.C. In the next count, prosecutors allege James conspired with Gottlieb to falsify investigative documents and statements in an effort to cover up the made-up details in the warrant application. So y'all know they say when you tell one lie, you got to chase it with another. So we dealing with a situation to where it's like, oh crap, okay, we doing wrong here. Okay, so now we got to figure out what we finna do to cover this up since we got to do this. Y'all, this is playing out like it be doing in the movies. Y'all know the movies be showing them, the law enforcement be lying, the lies that they tell. And, it's just, this contributes to why people just side-eye, just law enforcement, don't trust them, just all of that. So let's see, where did I leave off? The third account charges James for intentionally falsifying reports meant to impede the investigation into Taylor's death. And the fourth count charges Meany with lying to federal investigators. So these are some pretty heavy charges here. The U.S. Department of Justice separately charged Gottlieb on information, which means a grand jury did not indict her with one count of conspiracy for working alongside James to falsify the warrant application for Taylor's home and fabricating reports to cover it up after the fact. Gottlieb is scheduled to appear in court on August 12th, records show. So that's not long from now. That's what, maybe like sometime next week. The second indictment charges Hankinson with 2 civil rights offenses for willfully using unjustified and unconstitutional excessive force. He fired his gun through a covered window and glass door during the raid of Taylor's home. So they were just blindly shooting. Like, that's what it sounded like. You was just shooting blindly. Kristen Clark, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights with the DOJ, spoke about the indictments during the news conference. Quote, community safety indicates that police officers use their weapons only when necessary to defend their own lives or the lives of others, and even then that they must do so with great care and caution. So here's my thing, just trying to reflect back in 2020 when all this was going down. It's my understanding that pretty much they were watching, I guess the man or whatever that Breonna was supposed to have been dating, or I don't know what her connection was with this man, but it, to me, from, if my memory served me, it was things pertaining to more so like drug charges, drug and things like that. So I don't understand why to apprehend somebody for something, pertaining to or associated with drugs. Like, why would you have to roll up on somebody with some guns and come blazing on something pertaining to something that's not even dealing with violence? If that makes sense. Like I don't recall the story being around, okay, they were alleged to have been murderers, a menace to society with like just popping, blasting people. Like, I don't recall that. But y'all, this was 2022. Like I said, there was a lot going on. But to me, it sounds unnecessary and excessive that, okay, they decided to roll up on somebody with this type of energy when it was something that was connected to like drugs. That's the part like I don't get. That part, it's excessive to me. Like, that wasn't necessary. So let's see. Okay, so let's start. Community safety dictates that police officers use their weapons only when necessary to defend their own lives or the lives of others. And even then, they must do so with great care and caution, Clark said. Today's indictment alleges that Hankinson's use of excessive force violated the rights of Breonna Taylor and her guests, and also of her neighbors whose lives were endangered by bullets that penetrated into their apartment. Second part, how you coming into an apartment complex, guns blazing? You got these, like, it makes you shouldn't even been rolling like that, even with a house, let alone an apartment. Like, that was on some real reckless stuff. Like, how bad did you want Breonna, whoever you thought you was trying to get, to where you was just willing to risk it all? Because that's basically what happened that day. These officers was on some stuff like, yo, we finna risk it all just to try to get, like, quote unquote, what we want, but they still ended up not getting what they wanted. So really, at the end of the day, like, what are we doing here? So let's continue on. Employment status, arrest, and previous charges. So on Thursday, today, LMPD Chief Erica Shields initiated a process to terminate Meany and Gottlieb, the department said in a statement. Jane's attorney, Thomas Clay, did not respond to the request for comments from WFPL News, but he told WDRB and FBI and WDRB the FBI took James into custody Thursday morning. So let's go back up. Which one was James? James is this one right here. So he got taken into custody today. That's James. Yes. So let's go back. So they took him Thursday morning. And then let me see, Thursday morning, LMPD fired him in January 2021 for the untruthful search warrant application for Taylor's home. James unsuccessfully appealed his termination twice. So listen, like, player, we told you, nah. Okay, well, we'll tell you again. So no, player, you ain't working here. So there goes that. He got to go find him another gig. Hankinson was previously charged with wanton engagement for bullets he fired into the neighboring apartment as police raided Taylor's apartment after midnight on March 13, 2020. He was the only officer indicted by the Kentucky grand jury following an investigation led by the Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron's office, and was acquitted earlier this year. So y'all remember I told y'all Tamika Mallory was like going in. Let me jump over here real fast since his name has come up, because Tamika's definitely, she's not here for that one. So let's just take a field trip over to Tamika Mallory's Instagram, because what sis has said. So let me just do a refresh. So we on Tamika Mallory's Instagram. She got 1.1 million followers. So that means that's a lot of folks that be listening to what this woman got to say. So sis says 45 minutes ago, you lied. So this is at Daniel J. Cameron. You lied and you are an obstructionist. We want you charged with a crime, and we will fight like hell to make sure your attempt to become governor of Kentucky does not happen. Lord Jesus, she's trying to shut the whole campaign down. Daniel Cameron ain't ish. Tell whoever. I said, Lord Jesus, how many exclamation marks do sis got? Somebody talking about pressure. pressure. Not listen, I know this ain't Jay Morrison talking about Lord, let me go on and stay on task. Y'all, like somebody, let's get into these comments. What people saying about this. The kunacity. Yep, I just made up that word, but y'all get it. Absolutely aiding and abetting. Somebody say period. Oh, and he cannot become governor. I think the F not. That whole entire part, sis, period, charge him with obstruction of justice now. Not tomorrow, but now. Like, they not here for this man. And I guess he trying to run for a little position, but by the time Tamika done slaying him in the media, yeah, he gonna be trying to go run and hide under a rock. So let me see some other information I want to share. Let me see. Let me jump back over to, let's jump over here. So this is another article, and to meet Breonna Taylor's family hails charges against Louisville cops, criticizes Kentucky AG, Attorney General Cameron. So the family's on his neck, and as we see, Tamika Mallory is as well. Let's see. Is this a news fair use? Let's see if this is a news clip that we can play. Let me play this. Let's see if this will let us. Okay, no.
Breonna Taylor's family hails charges against Louisville.
Let me see.
Cops.
Okay, no, that's not what I thought it'd be. So let's get into this article. Nearly 900 days after Breonna Taylor was shot and killed by police on March 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice announced federal charges against 4 current and former Louisville police officers for their alleged roles in her death. Tamika Palmer, Taylor's mother, said the announcement of charges against the 4 officers caused people to learn what she and others had been saying for more than 2 years, that the police were responsible for her death. Quote, I have waited 874 days for today, Palmer said. I couldn't have done it without some of you all. Some of you all have been out here, have tearing me down. You have harassed me. Some of you have carried me, but all of that has made me, and I am okay with that. She said Thursday was long overdue. She, supporters, and her attorneys gathered outside the Louisville courthouse Thursday to share statements about the DOJ's announcement of the arrest of Kelly Gottlieb, Kyle Meany, Brett Hankinson, and Joshua James. The officers have been charged with civil rights offenses, unconstitutional use of force, obstruction, and conspiracy, Attorney General Merrick Garland said. This day is about Tamika, her family, Ben Crump, an attorney for Taylor's family. Okay, so it says this day is about Tamika, her family. So okay, yeah, so Breonna's mama is Tamika, and then we also have Tamika Mallory, like the activist. So I'm like, okay, so we got 2 Tamikas in place, and both of them are on the AG, Attorney General's neck right now. So listen, Tamika right now ain't having it across the globe. Let's see, we got Ben Crump, an attorney for Taylor's family, told reporters and others gathered outside of the Louisville courthouse Thursday. It's about Breonna and all the other Breonnas across America. The black women who have been denied justice throughout the history of this country, when they have been abused, assaulted, murdered, raped, and discarded. Because of Breonna Taylor, we can say this is a day that Black women saw equal justice in the United States of America. So like I said, like back then in 2020, I was hearing people talk about they just weren't here for the lack of, I guess, attention that Breonna Taylor's like death was getting in comparison to the men's death around that time. And I'm not going to lie, I actually didn't even learn about Breonna Taylor's death until after, I believe, I learned of Ahmaud Arbery's death. So I just don't think initially hers got like that much attention, or the attention that it should have gotten. So like, I just remember when I heard about it, it was like, it wasn't like right after it happened, like I did with the fella, with Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, like right away you heard about it. But that it seemed like it wasn't the same energy given to Breonna. So I remember people having whole think tanks and things like that online, on YouTube, on the internet about that situation. So they're like, yes, finally, a woman is getting equal justice. So Lanita Baker, co-counsel for Taylor's family and president of National Bar Association, said that by charging the officers, the GOJ was acknowledging police officers had no right to be at Breonna's apartment in the first place. We have been saying they lied, Barker said. We have been saying Breonna was not involved, and we have been saying they should not have been at Breonna's home. We have been saying that officers should be held accountable for Breonna. We have been saying that officers should be held accountable for Breonna Taylor's murder, and today is the day towards getting that justice. So Taylor's family supporters critical of the AG camera. So let's get into it. Like, listen, AG, he better run and hide because these sisters are not here for him. Members of the Taylor family and legal team also called for the arrest of Kentucky General Daniel Cameron. So let's find Daniel Cameron. I want to see what he looks like. We're gonna bring him up and see what he looks like, because they like, listen, sir. So I'm gonna bring let's bring him up. Okay, charges government shield mask mandate. Okay, so I want to try to get a good photo of him. And Breonna Taylor. Let me see if I can get something kind of current of him, or has he said anything pertaining to today? So let me share my screen so we can see what Mr. Cameron looks like, to refresh your memory if some of you forgotten what he looked like. Okay, so this is Attorney General Daniel Cameron. So this is the one that's probably hiding somewhere because all the Tamikas across the globe are looking for him. So yeah, he might want to steer clear for a minute. But yeah, Tamika's like, listen, you ain't getting in no new seats, so you might as well go have several seats. So let's get into this. Members, let me see. Members of the Taylor family and legal team also called for the arrest of Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Cameron is running for governor, and he handled a grand jury investigation into Taylor's death. The state level investigation resulted in charges for one officer, Hankinson, but he was ultimately found not guilty on wanton endangerment charges. Surprise, surprise. Cameron was accused of misrepresenting the findings of the grand jury assembled to weigh whether any charges should be filed against the Louisville police officers involved in Taylor's death. Three unnamed grand jurors and other concerned citizens filed an impeachment petition against Cameron in January 2021. Thank God Attorney General Daniel Cameron did not get the last word in justice for Taylor, Crump said. Civil rights activist Tamika Mallory, who moved to Louisville from New York to help pursue justice for Taylor, called for the arrest of Daniel Cameron, who she said lied about Taylor's death. Daniel Cameron needs to be arrested, she said. He needs to be arrested because he is a liar. He is an obstructionist. Not only did he lie, not only did he illegally botch the investigation, but he also damaged the lives of jurors who saw the need to come forward and say that everything that was being presented was a lie. I think I can vaguely remember that, where there were some people saying that he had said that he got, listen, it was a whole mess. Let's see. Sadiqa Reynolds, the CEO and president of the Louisville Urban League, also called for his arrest and that he should not be reelected. So my thing is, if they got proof for this and that's the case, yeah, that man need to be arrested, period. There is an attorney general who said there is nothing to see here and we did the best that we could. I want to tell all Black people and all people that your vote matters, because if we did not have this president of the United States, we did not have this attorney general of this country, we would not have these 4 indictments, Reynolds said. She said the shock was not that the injustice happened, but that it was exposed, and she criticized the relationship between prosecutors and investigators. So basically, we had a situation of throw the whole investigation away because it was all tainted. We know the whole story now, and it is on us to hold everyone accountable. And someone is dead, she said. Palmer said Cameron was dead wrong. Like, hell, if all that's true, yeah, he was beyond wrong. So I'm with Tamika on that one. Quote, you don't deserve to be where you are and you need to go, Palmer said. If we don't continue to eat him, one of y'all is on the menu next. He was dead wrong. It didn't start with him, but he had the option to do the right thing and he chose not to. So again, I have waited 874 days for today. My thoughts is that man was doing what he felt like he needed to keep his little job. What they say, you about to lose your job. Y'all remember that song when that girl, she said, you about to lose your job. Like that's what we dealing with. And I feel like this man was trying to appease the non-melanated, so he can hold on to his little job and his little position. And now he in a whole situation. And I'm pretty sure they ain't going to be there in his corner to support him. Attorney General Daniel Cameron's office did not immediately respond to requests for comment about the matters. Mayor journey towards the justice and arrest. So Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher said in a statement that the charges were a critical step in the process of justice for Breonna Taylor and her family. So yeah, we got to start there with a charge before we can try to get, any prosecutions. It starts with the charge. So while we cannot reverse her tragic death, we can and must continue to pursue justice for her. I deeply appreciate the hard work of the federal government to tirelessly pursue this case, Fisher said. And while I know some may feel that this process has taken too long, as I've said from the beginning, there can be no shortcuts to due process, no shortcuts to justice. So they're like, okay, it took 2 years to get here, but we are here. So we're going to go ahead and take that. And, hopefully, when the trials start, the 12 jurors will, get justice for the family. Today is an important day in that process and the journey towards justice. And I pledge to my city that my administration will continue to be unflagging in our work to pursue this justice and create more equitable, safe, and compassionate city for all Louisvillians. So, Representative John Yarmouth, who represents Kentucky's 3rd congressional district, said it was about damn time charges was filed and also criticized Cameron. So let me see. That's not this man down here. You see, justice delayed is justice denied, Yarmouth said in a tweet Thursday, but it's never too late to do the right thing. Despite Daniel Cameron's best efforts, accountability is finally coming for those responsible for Breonna Taylor's death. Kentucky Rep. Charles Booker also commented and tweeted that the justice was long overdue. So here's Charles Booker's tweet. The FBI has arrested 4 LMPD officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor. Accountability is long overdue. We will never stop saying her name. So Governor Andy Beshear said he's not had time to read the indictments, but said the allegations against the former and current police officers is serious. Falsifying an affidavit is a serious charge and it ought to be taken seriously, Beshear said. When asked if he agreed with those critical of Attorney General Daniel Cameron's investigation of the events surrounding Breonna Taylor's death, Beshear said, I need more information, but a false affidavit could also be perjury under state law. Y'all, like, this is serious. Like, I'm wondering, I haven't read anything where I guess they don't have a trial date or anything yet. So I guess since today, the arrests were made. But y'all, this trial gonna be something else. Like, I think people listen, this gonna be up there. Y'all think people finna be watching this trial? Like, I don't know. Y'all want to put it up there with the Tasha K and Cardi B, because y'all know folks was had they popcorn, they Pepsi. Listen, they wine. Everybody was here for that. So I think with this situation with Breonna Taylor, I think it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be talked about, because I think people are going to be looking to see, okay, you're saying, okay, we're filing these charges, but again, it still has to go through the court system as far as to determine like what a sentence is going to be. Because y'all know we done seen that where a sentence is kind of like a slap on the wrist. It's something real light and nothing like we kind of would expect for it to be. Considering, y'all remember when that police officer that was at Botham Jean, the guy, was he in Texas or something, when that officer went into his apartment and killed him? And I think she only got like maybe 10 years or something like that. I mean, I just, it's just like with this situation, we don't know. Yes, it's a plus that it's going to trial, but y'all, of course, y'all know how it goes with what the sentence could be. So it remains to be seen, but it is something to have the charges out there. So it looks like the family is at least rejoicing. They're at least rejoicing for that. And I think, that is something for the family and the people in the community to have a positive outlook about. It's a start. So, it's a start. You got to start somewhere. Thanks, guys, for those of you who have joined. Please like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. Because as I say, we were random over here, but we definitely get into things, all things viral moments, anything newsworthy, anything that I find that could be beneficial for our community to just enhance our knowledge and our quality of life. So today is a big day for Breonna Taylor's family, for the community. I am happy for, the family, and it's one step closer to vindicating, I guess, her death and getting justice for her. I believe they already went through the whole process, like as far as with this, the civil suit and things like that. But right at this point, we're dealing with more of the criminal side, because y'all know they quick to go ahead and lock us up and throw away the key. So I feel like that same energy should be had for law enforcement as well, because it's about accountability. And you can't want to try to enforce the law but not live by it yourself. Like it doesn't work that way. It don't work that way. And that's how you lose the the distrust within people within the community, by not, standing by what it is that what you preach, and that's what we're dealing with. So I am definitely hoping for the best for this family. I'm going to continue to follow this story to see how things kind of pan out as it goes through the judicial system and all the way to trial and jury and deliberation, but like all of that. Because I think a lot of people are really going to be looking to see how this, just like with that George Floyd, that was a big one too. I really think there's going to be a lot of attention on this case pertaining to Breonna Taylor, because I don't think there's any other big cases right now going on that would take away the attention from her. Now, y'all do know Tory Lanez. I think Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, I think they're supposed to go to trial. I want to say September. I heard y'all that he tried to get it pushed back, but the judge was like, no, sir. So I believe they're scheduled to go and begin the trial, I think September. So, yes, hopefully, the two trials won't kind of overshadow one another. We can see, be able to give the attention to Tory and Megan's trial, as well as give, full attention to the Breonna Taylor's trial, or the officers who are charged with her death, their trial. So just don't want anything to be overshadowed, because that Megan Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez, that's a whole situation right there. I feel like people are kind of split half and half on kind of how they feel about that as far as where guilt lies. But with Breonna Taylor, I think most people within, especially Black people, most Black people kind of fare on the side of Breonna Taylor, and they feel that it was a wrongful death. Like, basically, listen, the police were someplace where they wasn't supposed to be in, and it resulted in the loss of her life. And from the evidence that I've come to see, I share the same sentiment. So until any additional evidence come out, that's where I stand on that. And as far as with AG Cameron, I'm with Tamika. If he was running around doing all that, being a whole fraud, I think, yes, he definitely needs to go somewhere, and he needs some charges put on him too. So I don't know if we may not be able to hold our breath on that one, or may not want to, at least, because y'all know when you get a certain little position, you can have people that try to protect you from things. You have that type of protection that the people down below with us don't have. But based off of what we read, if there's truth to all of that, which I believe it is, because I want to say I heard back then where there was like a juror or something like that, and they were like, "Oh God, you guys, there's nothing here," and it's like, what? Like, why would you say that? Like, that's putting like thoughts tainting the juror's mind. Like, that's just, I don't know, to me. Yes. So yeah, go ahead and lock him up too. Yeah, we just gonna go ahead and lock him up too. So that's all I got for this story. I'm gonna drop the links to these websites that we cover, just in case you want to check them out. But I'm gonna continue to follow this story. Definitely drop a comment if you have any feedback or anything that I covered, or any additional information. But yeah, it's been 2 years since, so it's like, everybody's trying to reflect kind of on the details and things like that. But of course, as the trial come, it's going to be discussed, and people's memory is kind of going to be refreshed of the details that came out back in 2020 when the shooting took place. So please, on your way out, please like, share, subscribe. I'm a small YouTube. I'm growing, but I do welcome all my new subs and all of my returning subs. I appreciate you a lot, but please continue to like, share, and subscribe to get the video, my content out there. So until the next broadcast, Chic out. Peace.